Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. Here we talk about overlanding, gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle and getting out there and adventuring in the outdoors. Today we're going to be talking about one of my personally favorite mods to have, but least favorite to install, and that is rock lights. Unfortunately, this is just going to be a little bit of climbing around underneath your vehicle. But once you get this install done, man, they are absolutely awesome. No matter who you are, I'm sure you like the look of rock lights. Having an underglow under your vehicle at camp, when you're off-roading, or just when your vehicle's parked in your driveway, looks really sweet. I did a video a little while back, I'll link it somewhere up here, talking about Harbor Freight's rock lights, which are pretty inexpensive. I think they're $30 or $35 for a 2-pack, and you can get 8 of them for, under 150 bucks. And all you got to do is make your own harness, and it's kind of a nice budget-friendly option for installing rock lights. However, the unfortunate thing is they don't really come with any sort of mounting, and they don't come with really any sort of harness. I think they might sell one, but I ended up making one from scratch for myself, and making harnesses from scratch can actually be kind of expensive. So you need to factor in those costs, and also your method for mounting them, hardware you have to buy, those sorts of things. But overall, those are decent rock lights. But today I'm going to be showing you kind of the new to market and heavily anticipated Diode Dynamics rock lights. And this kit is a turnkey kit, and Diode Dynamics also sells a bunch of different mounts. So for someone who maybe doesn't want to put as much DIY design into a product, and you just want to have something you can purchase off the shelf and install, that is what we're going to be looking at today. So these are probably the more expensive product on the market, but they're also probably the brightest rock light I've ever seen. So you kind of get what you pay for, and I think that they really are putting out light per their cost. So first we're going to talk about the sort of unboxing experience and just everything that comes in the packaging, because there's quite a bit that's included in these, but there's also some other things you can purchase on their website that I'll talk about a little later. And then we're going to kind of adapt this rock light kit to be used with a Garmin or a Switch Pros or something where you would just hook in like a little loop connector, or a ring connector, or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, let's jump into the unboxing, and then I'll show you what these rock lights look like on the vehicle. All right, so it's time to unbox these rock lights. I've had them for a couple weeks and just haven't had the time to get to installing them. As some of you might know, if you've ever done rock lights before, it's a bit of a project doing the install. But thankfully these kits are fairly turnkey, which is pretty handy. So we just start unboxing these. It's kind of nice because these lights come with harnesses, so you don't have to go and make a bunch of custom harnesses. Each kit or box here comes with 4 lights, so some people might just buy these so that they can run these lights as like wheel well lights, but then other people might buy them because they're going to run them as legit rock lights where they illuminate the rocks around your vehicle. So when we dig into this kit, basically we've got the 4 wires, 2 for closer lights, 2 for farther away lights. We've got a harness here with 4 plugs, and then we've got a switch for it and everything. So as is my goal with most rock light kits, I typically end up cutting them up. But this one is a bit more tricky, so hopefully this one I can kind of figure out. This particular box doesn't look to have a manual, but I might pull up on the screen the manual for this. It says scan the QR code for install instructions, so it looks like they're starting to go digital with the install instructions, which I think is a good idea because I ended up throwing away most of my Diode Dynamic install instruction documents whenever they come. So I've got 8 of these. These have the white LEDs, and what you have to do is you have to remove this little plate to expose the middle. There's some different mounting options like magnets. I think there's some others on their website. But I'm just going to be using this little bolt because I've got spots on my vehicle where I've mounted rock lights in the past, and so I'm going to use those same brackets. They're very simple. They're made from 3-inch by 3-inch 90-degree brackets from like Menards or Home Depot. They're really cheap and really easy to build yourself. So that's what I'm going to be doing. You could do magnets for this, but just kind of depends on where you want to mount them, how secure you want them. I think the magnets are rated for pretty high weight compared to what these weigh, so I don't know if you risk them falling off using magnets, but I just figured better safe than sorry. I'm going to use the included little stainless steel bolts. So we've got them right here. They all come with a little nylon lock nut, washer, and I believe lock washer too. And then they've got this little button head Allen bolt that will go through the middle of this light. So you take the light like this, you drop the little button head right through the middle, and away you go. I believe this little rubber cap you can stick right on the top there, and then it covers up the bolt. So my goal is to kind of mount all of these up through my little bracket with this, and we should be sitting totally solid. I don't remember if the holes on my brackets are large enough for these, but they look to be 1/4 inch for those. We'll just double check the measurement since I'm right here. Yeah, they're actually a 3/8 inch diameter bolt, but I think the holes on my brackets should be fine. Worst case scenario, we'll just drill them out a little bit. And since we've got these brackets, and honestly, since there's all these bolts on the frame, it's really not overly tricky to find spots to mount the rock lights. The trickiest part is always just routing these cables. Okay, well, I just ran to the vehicle and I tested these out, and the orange and the white are basically 2 different dimness levels of the light. So it doesn't tell me a whole lot about what's going on in this harness. Typically what happens is you have the red comes in as feed from the battery, right? So we've got the red and the black feed. These are going to come in, so this black wire is going to be a ground split between all of the rock lights, so they're wired up in parallel. And then the red comes down this wire to your switch off of the battery, and your switch just controls the flow from that red wire. So the red wire comes into the switch, and then this toggles which direction you want it to go. Thankfully, these switches are so simple that typically the wire comes in. If you flick it this way, it goes down the orange wire. If you flick it this way, it goes down the white wire. So it's typically not too complicated. What's a little bit annoying and harder to read is this spot right here where it comes in. So clearly the black and the red wire and the harness all come in on this side, and then the red, white, and orange go this direction. So what I want to know is what's happening right here. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to heat this up and cut it off, and I'll put new heat shrink on in the name of doing some R&D for you guys. So let's go ahead and do that now. So there you have it. We've got a red wire, a yellow wire, and a black wire feed right here. Check that out. Red wire, black wire feed. So it's good and bad news. The good news is this is a nice little connection right here that's crimped, and we can use this. Bad news is this wire isn't incredibly long, but like I do with almost all my harnesses, I think we're gonna have to just clip it right here. Worst case scenario, we're gonna wire in an extension, but I don't think we will. So come here and there. So honestly too, like this has a dim mode and a bright mode. I may just wire up the bright mode. I mean, I don't really see the benefit of having both for my application. But at this point, what I would probably do is wire up each of these individually to their own situation. So I'm gonna double check to make sure I know which light is which for these wires, and then we'll be back. But so far, this looks pretty decent. We'll just come back in here and we'll reinforce a bunch of this with electrical tape and maybe some tech wrap if I'm feeling fancy. All right, so I just tested this, and the orange wire is the bright wire. The white wire is for the dimmer setting. So I'm just going to come in here and just wrap this just to kind of remind myself like, hey, we're not going to use that one. What I did notice online is there's actually harness splitters, which that's pretty handy. I don't have those, unfortunately, and I'm trying to decide my best approach here. But I think what I'm gonna do, holy cow, these are a strong connection. There, wow, that's impressive. I'm gonna just wire up both of these harnesses. I'm gonna clip them both. I'm gonna wire them both up to little loops, and we'll just go from there. So I would love to wait for the harness splitter, but I don't wanna wait to install these, so we're just gonna do that. One thing I actually might consider doing though is one harness I'll set up like this, and then the other harness I'm gonna add an extension to. And since we have all this nice wire here sitting that should have been used for this piece, I might just use this as a little extension wire to run my second harness farther down towards the back of the vehicle. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Nice part about doing this as well is it keeps the gauge wire larger, which nothing wrong with doing that. Yeah, and then we'll just start routing all these cables so that we can hook this stuff up and start wiring up these lights. Okay, well, after making a big mess and patching in a couple pieces here, I've got a extra long harness using the wire that they provided. So now these three can go to little loop connectors, and I'll probably just leave one disconnected because remember, the orange is the one we care about, the red is ground in my case, and the white is the not very bright version. So I guess I'll just wrap this white one back again like I did before. Maybe toss a little piece of tape around it, and just to try to keep that little metal contact on there as clean as I can. So this harness is basically done. I decided to do the longer one first. Now I just got to cut up the other one so that it matches this one, and then we'll connect these wires at the ends into the same loop connector or ring connector so that we don't have to stack terminals, because I think ideally we don't want to do that because it gets moisture in between those plates a lot easier. So this should be good. Let's go ahead and make that second harness. All right, so we've got the harness kind of all set up here. This will route right up to the switch pros. So we've got the two ring connectors. I've zip tied these together just so that I don't need to do something in addition besides this tech wrap. We've got this tech wrap kind of extended all through here because I added the little extension down here. It got a little fatter, so I used some tech wrap that I just had laying around. And so the goal is we're gonna try and use as many short harnesses for the front as we can, because I'm pretty worried that I'm gonna run out of length, and when you start routing these wires, you start running out of length really fast. So be very strategic in how you route all of these wires so that you don't have problems with the length of your harness. So, all right, I think we've got all the wiring done. Let's jump out to the vehicle, and I'm gonna show you how I've mounted my old rock lights, which I'm basically gonna be using for these Diode Dynamic rock lights. So let's jump right out and go check it out. Okay, so the terminal to connect this stuff is all up here in the front of my engine bay. A lot of you might have one right over there, whatever works. So I'm gonna route a wire down through this space here, across and down for the front, and then down and down through here to get to the rest of the vehicle. So one spot that I use to mount rock lights is right here. You can see where my current Harbor Freight rock light is. There's a bolt right in here that's pretty handy to use. So that's where I mount to, and I've just got a little right angle bracket right here. So I'll hook up the new rock light at the end of this bracket with a couple washers and that bolt. Next place I went is just a couple bolts along the frame here. Nothing too crazy. Right next to the rock sliders, there's a bunch of bolts in here, and I just use those to put two rock lights under the rock sliders. And in the rear, given my high clearance editions, I didn't need these little brackets from the Low Pro anymore, so I used them on this factory threaded spot on the frame. So my plan is to mount the last rock light in the back right here,
And then all those spots I just showed you, you can do on the other side. So it's pretty easy. Well, I was able to remove this front light and attach the new one. And like I said, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. We'll just have to route all these wires, and that's what's going to take the time. But so far, this looks pretty good. All right, got the front two wired up here. As you can see, pretty bright. It's like 7 o'clock at night or 7:30. So the fact that you can see light right now is pretty insane. There's a little look at with the light on. Obviously, probably not going to be able to see very much, but two front ones done and some wire routing done. Time to move towards the rock slider area.
Well, that's going to be a wrap for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions about these, feel free to comment them down below. And if you want to go check out my Harbor Freight rock light video, I linked it earlier in the video. So yeah, these are definitely some of the highest quality rock lights I've ever seen. They're an amazing product. They sell these in a high output white light. They also sell an RGB version. They sell lens covers for these if you want to have like an amber cover, I believe. But yeah, they look incredible. Their wiring harness that's included feels high quality. And yeah, so far their performance really is insane. It's a nice product. I honestly am thinking about putting more on the vehicle. But we'll have to figure out how I will connect all those together, given that, you know, we'd have to start a new harness. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, please consider subscribing. I'll probably show these rock lights off more in future content, especially camping trips, because an absolute game changer or must if you're camping and you want to be able to see around your rig, how to get in and out when it's dark out, those sorts of things. So yeah, I really like rock lights. Heavily recommend you check them out. I'll link them down below in the description for you to easily find a bunch of the stuff that I used for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.